In this video, I'm going to show you a neat trick in Google Sheets to import tables from other pages into the spreadsheet automatically. It's called Import HTML. Let me give you an example. Take a look at the football tables at the Guardian page. We have multiple tables that are representing different championships, football championships around the world. If we wanted to import all of these tables to Google Sheets, we might want to do some maybe select all of the text and then do some copy and pasting, or we might want to do automatically the import of a specific table or multiple tables from this page directly to a Google Sheet. And we can do just that with Import HTML. Let me show you how it works. So you go to any empty cell and then you type equals import HTML and then parentheses. See that import HTML takes three parameters. The first one is the URL of the web page where your table is. The second one is a query, what they call a query. It could be either a table or a list of items. In our case, it's going to be a table, and it has to be an HTML table. And the last parameter is the position of the table on the web page. So let's go back to the football tables page at The Guardian. So we have several tables here, and if we wanted to import, for example, the second table here that represents La Liga, the Spanish championship, we might want to do this. So we copy the URL that's in the address bar. We can right-click and copy or do Control-C or Command-C, and then we come back to the Google Sheet, and then we need to do quotes. So every time you type in the URL parameter in import HTML, it has to be between quotes. And then we do Command-C to paste the address, and then another quotes. And then we use the separator. Notice that the separator is indicated on the tooltip that Google Sheets presents to you. Depending on the language settings of your Google account in Google Sheets, this separator could be a different character. So if your import HTML function is not working, it might be that you're using a different separator as I am. So take a look at that. So I'm going to put comma here, and then I'm going to put the word table between quotes because that's what we're importing. And then lastly, the position of the table on the web page. Now, going back to the example, we see that the La Liga table is the second table that I see on the page. So let's go back and type in the number 2. So it's important that the number is actually not between quotes. The URL parameter is, and the query parameter is, but the position of the table on the web page isn't. So after that, we then close parentheses, and then we hit enter. And voila, we have the table that represents the results of the second table on the page at The Guardian. So what if we wanted to load the third table? We might just change the number here at the top to number 3, and then it loads the table automatically. Or we might go back to number 1, and then we can just copy the first cell here. So I'm copying it, right-click, copy, and then I go down here on row 7, and then I paste. And then I change this to number 2. Now import HTML is importing actually 2 tables, the first one and the second one. Notice that when I click on row 1, A1, the number here is 1, which indicates that it is the first table on the web page. And then when I go to row 7, it says table number 2. So that's one example. Let me remove this and give you another. This is the list of highest grossing Indian films. It's a Wikipedia article. See that there are multiple pages on this web page as well. And the web page makes us think that the first table that is showing the list of the highest grossing movies, Indian movies, is actually the first table here, right, on the web page. So let's take a look at that. We copy the address here at the top, copy. Then I go back here, empty cell A1 equals import HTML, parenthesis, then I quote, the address, the URL needs to be between quotes, and then the second parameter, also between quotes, is a table, and then comma again, and then because this looks like the first table, we're going to use the number 1 here as well. And then we press enter. See what happens. It actually didn't load what it looks like to be the first table on the page. That's why that's because import HTML doesn't actually import the first table that we see. Import HTML imports the HTML code of the page, and then it loads the first page, the first table that appears in the code. So we need to see actually if it doesn't work. In our case, it didn't work. We might want to change the number here really quickly just to test, try and test to see if we can load the table that we're actually seeing. So if we change this to number 2 for the next table in the code, then you see that it actually loads the table that we're seeing here. So there is a table here on the HTML code that comes before the table that we're seeing. There is a structure here that it was configured to be an HTML table, but it's not appearing to be an HTML table for us. So you just go there, change the number from 1 to 2, and then you load the right table. Let me give you yet another example so that we see how fast import HTML works. Because those are all tables that are, small tables, like 25 rows, 10 rows. What if we wanted to load a table that has, hundreds of rows, right? Let me show you an example. This is a web page that shows airport codes in Europe. And see that there are hundreds of airports here, all airports in Europe. And this is actually a table. So what if we wanted to import this table automatically to import HTML? So we just copy here the address, copy. Then we come back here, import HTML, and then we put the URL between quotes, comma, table, and then comma again, table between quotes, and then we put the position of the table on the HTML code. And then we hit enter. See how fast it loads. We have actually more than over 200 airports in Europe, and it loads very fast. And the good thing about import HTML is that if I leave this table here as is with the import HTML function loaded, it'll actually update automatically the table here on the Google Sheet if any changes happen on the website. So if there's any update here or any update here or any update here, my Google Sheet will be updated automatically as well, because import HTML access the website from time to time automatically to load the latest results. Now, some considerations are important. Import HTML will only import HTML tables. So you need to check out the code to make sure that what you're importing is actually a table, right? So if we, for example, right-click here and do some inspecting to see the HTML code, we will see that there's actually a table tag here on the HTML code that describes this table. Sometimes there are elements on a web page that looks like a HTML table, but they are not a table. They might be a div, they might use a different tag to represent what we see as a table, but it's not actually an HTML table. So that's a caveat of import HTML. The other thing that we need to consider is that the import HTML will only return tables that are visible to Google Sheets, right? So because Google Sheets will try to access the website, the answer that the website gives to Google Sheets needs to be the HTML code that you see here on your browser. Sometimes some websites will prevent automated access. So Google Sheets is sort of an automated access to the website. So some websites will block or prevent the full HTML code to be loaded. So you might want to pay attention to that too if you get mixed results. So there it is. This is import HTML, and this is how we import tables automatically to Google Sheets.